First, I want to welcome all of you here to this historic press conference. Today, we make a strong statement in El Paso. We do not want this wall. Today, Texas does more trade with Mexico than all the European Union combined. For centuries, we have intertwined families, communities, people, and trade. And now is the time to take this historic moment, a new administration in Washington, D.C., and send a clear message. We want a message of friendship, we want a message of hope, and we want a message of renewed and strengthened ties to our friends and families in the Americas. Let us take the money that is now destined to be spent on muros de odio and put it into investment in infrastructure and human capital along the border. Today, we will deliver this letter to Washington, D.C., to President-elect Obama, and to the members of his cabinet who thankfully are from the border or know the border. Secretary-designate Hillary Clinton, Secretary-designate Bill Richardson, and Secretary-designate Napolitano to send a very clear message about this wall. I'm joined here today by other elected officials. Some couldn't make it today, but they'll be coming to sign the letter later on. So I'd ask at this time if Karl McElhaney from the Congressman office could join us and make his comments.
Thank you, Senator Shapleigh. My name is Karl McElhaney. I'm here representing Congressman Sylvestre Reyes. We're glad to be joining the elected officials and the people that have been here over the last couple of days discussing the border wall. As many of you know, Congressman Reyes has been a staunch opponent of the wall. I think that for all the reasons that Senator Shapleigh so eloquently mentioned, it's something that we've known here all along. We know what's best for the border. It's just a bad policy. This letter is an important step in letting the new administration know how we feel and basically telling them that the people along the border understand the issue of immigration. They understand the issue of border security much better than those folks that have been setting policy in Washington for the last 8 years. So we're very hopeful. We have a new administration. Congressman Reyes has already been working very hard to communicate a lot of the needs of the border. The issue of the border wall is right near the top of that list. As Senator Shapleigh mentioned, the vast resources that would go into building a wall all across the entire U.S.-Mexico border is one big mistake. What we need to do is redirect those. We understand we need border security. Nobody here or along the border disputes that we need to have a good border security policy. But that entails immigration reform, a thoughtful policy, working closely with all the partners along the border. That includes our friends in Mexico. We can do it. We know what's best. We can do this. So I appreciate the opportunity, just on behalf of the Congressman, to come here and support this cause. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. I'm Jose Rodriguez. I'm the El Paso County Attorney, and I also proudly join in signing this letter in opposition to the construction of this wall. Not only in opposition to the construction of the wall, but asking that this wall be torn down. I think President-elect Obama, and DHS designee Janet Napolitano need to hear loud and clear that those of us who live on the border and who understand the reality of the border and who have built relationships with Mexico, at least in El Paso for over 400 years, are more interested, as has been already mentioned, in developing and enhancing our relationship with Mexico, and more interested in finding solutions that actually work. DHS themselves have indicated that this border wall is not going to do the job. So if it's not going to do the job, why are we wasting billions of taxpayers' dollars that could be invested to right now in particular, when we face a financial crisis in our nation? The wall is not only not the answer, the wall is a terrible symbol for the rest of the world, because we are projecting the image that we used to criticize other nations for. And now we have taken the lead in becoming that symbol of intolerant societies. And this is not America. This is not the country that you and I have come to expect to be the leader, moral leader in the world, as well as leader in many other ways. And so we ask the new administration to reject this as a policy as soon as they start working on it. And we remind the president-elect that he promised he would do this in the first year. And it's true that he's facing an economic crisis, but some of us say that the economic crisis cannot be resolved entirely without taking into account the immigration issue as well, because the immigration issue clearly ties into our economic conditions. And comprehensive immigration reform, we all know, is a real solution, the real answer to this whole question, and not a border wall. The County of El Paso, I'm proud to say, has passed not only one, but 2 resolutions calling for comprehensive immigration reform and opposing the border wall. The County of El Paso is also, along with the City of El Paso and others, filed a lawsuit that is going to be going before the U.S. Supreme Court, hopefully for review, that conveys our sense that this wall also represents a terrible, terrible infringement on the United States Constitution in violating state sovereignty rights by having the Secretary of DHS waive all applicable state and local laws as well as federal laws. We definitely think this is an unprecedented delegation of authority by the Congress, and that it also violates Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution. So we are doing everything that we can as a community to convey our sense that this is not the right way to approach border security. And so I am very pleased that we have other elected officials, such as the one that I'm going to introduce to you now, with City Council, Steve Ortega, who is joining us in signing this letter. Thank you.
I first want to thank the Congressman, the State Senator, and our County Attorney for taking a crucial leadership role in this very important issue. I want to start off by saying I'm a 4th-generation American, and I'm very proud of that. But when I take a look at the construction of this wall, I take a look at what I believe to be a monument to intolerance, a monument to inefficiency, and a monument to government that is reactionary. And I too join the county attorney, and I join the congressman, and I join the state senator in asking this new administration to simply tear down this wall. It is an anti-American measure. When you take a look at the founding principles of this country was founded on principles of equality, tolerance, a beacon to hope for peoples from all around the world. And there is no doubt that we want to have a secure border, but we want to do it in a manner that is in the American tradition, and the wall, quite simply, is not. And so I want to thank again the leadership that we have here in the community. El Paso has continually taken a lead role on defining border issues in terms of stances against the border wall. The City of El Paso, the county, passed resolutions against the reactionary Minutemen measures that we faced a couple of years ago. And I hope that with the new administration, there is an open mind and open perspective when it comes to border issues, because nobody understands border issues better than the people that live on the border. And again, instead of reactionary politics, let's have decisions that are informed by good policy decisions, by good information, and by principles that this country was founded on. Thank you.
Senator, I want to add that just before coming here, I talked to Commissioner Veronica Escobar, and she said that while she could not be here, she fully intends to sign this letter.
I think Mayor Cooks indicated that he would sign the letter. The letter is in your press packet if you want to get it. We're going to distribute it once we've got all the signatures on it, and this will be sent to Barack Obama, it will be sent to Hillary Clinton, and it will be sent to Bill Richardson and to Janet Napolitano. So with that, we're open to any questions that you might have about this letter.
Talk to us about the sentiments that you all, we're calling muros de odio. Where does that come from? Where are we getting that feedback from in particular, and you yourself, Senator?
I have been for a year now the head of the Border Legislative Caucus. That is all the state lawmakers of the 10 border states. And when I travel to Monterrey, when I go to Tijuana, when I go to Mexico City, it is called by my colleagues muro de odio, a wall of hatred. It has become for them a symbol of racism and intolerance. And to us, or those of us who grow up on the border, those of us who call ourselves fronterizos, we look at the policies of Franklin Roosevelt and John Kennedy as the guidance that we need here. From their perspective, we needed to build alliances and partnerships with equals, foster prosperity throughout the Americas. That is the solution to the issues that we face, and not these walls and symbols of racism. Never heard the press be this quiet.
And you're not just talking about Mexico, you're talking about other Latin American countries that have voiced their concerns about the symbol of the wall.
I am, but I'm going to ask Jose Rodriguez to address some of this because he goes with me to some of these conferences. And when you look at it from the perspective of the Americans, and you look at the set of policies that have been deployed for the last 8 years, they have been wrong. And now today we have to rebuild those and rebuild and strengthen those partnerships with our brothers and sisters, not just in Mexico, but across the Americas. And I think this is a first step of communities along the border with a new administration and new hope to say, tear down this wall and give us hope.
Well, I can only echo what the senator himself has heard. I hear it all the time from ordinary citizens, people who look. Just yesterday, I was in fact on the Barbara Perez talk show at 10 o'clock, and several of the callers were commenting about how ugly the wall looked right there on Yarrow Avenue. The wall now extends from Isleta almost all the way over here to Holy High School. And it's really a sense, I mean, all you have to do is go and look at it. And one of the callers said, Mr. County Attorney, do you know whether the wall is going to be painted? I wasn't expecting that kind of comment. And I said, no, what do you have? He said, well, it's so, I mean, it looks like rusted steel. I mean, I said, no, I have no indication whether it's going to be painted. If you go over to Palomas in Columbus, where the wall, this same wall has been for a while, it looks exactly the way it looks here. You go down to California, it's the same. It is an ugly monument to a failed immigration policy. There's no question about it. And people do have a sense that it conveys the wrong message, not just here locally, because of all the work that we've done over the years in trying to develop binational programs, whether it be public health, whether it be dealing with crime and other issues. We try to work closely together here along the border, contrary to what the people in the hinterland might think of about. And this does send a message that you know, there's something wrong in this relationship when you build a wall between neighbors.
I have a question. How are you coordinating, or how are you going to coordinate with the Mexican side? Because, or what is the plan? Because the Diputado Federal, Cruz Pérez Cuellar, the Congreso de Chihuahua, Víctor Quintana, the different political parties are against the wall. So how are you going to coordinate with federal, state, and local officials?
Well, this is the international symbol for Ponzano. This means we're sending it back to you. We passed over 18 months ago at the Border Legislative Caucus a very strong resolution in opposition to the wall. That is 10 states. It's everyone in California to Texas on the U.S. side, and from Tamaulipas to Baja California Norte on the Mexican side. So the state lawmakers have acted. 9 border congressmen have signed this resolution. Our own congressman has been a strong leader in opposition to it. Now the question is, how do we take this message from the Americas to an American president? How do we as a people say, tear down this wall? It is a moment of hope. We have a changed administration. Now is the time to change that policy. Karl, you want to comment?
Well, I think the senator got it right. If you look at the wall as part of our overall policy, it really fits in with a lot of the policies this administration has taken around the world, which is we don't use diplomacy, we don't use cooperation. It's basically our way or the highway. And I think that we're at a historic point. We have the opportunity here to take control of our own destiny along the border. We've got to be unified, and I think this event certainly starts to show, certainly here in El Paso, that we are unified. And the congressman certainly is going to be taking the message to President-elect Obama and President Obama and his cabinet, with whom he has a very good relationship with the majority of the people that President-elect Obama has already tapped. It's almost an education process. We're going to have to go now and move into super drive mode to try to recover from the policies that we've been faced with along the border, which really, frankly, is just kind of ignorant of daily border life here, and you all know that. So I would just encourage you, from the Congressman's standpoint, on issues related to the wall, but many other things, including infrastructure, decent drinking water, wastewater disposal, all those things that we so desperately need along the border. That's where we got to kick it in high gear and make sure that the new administration hears our voice, make sure that they know what the needs are, that they have a better understanding of the border. And when that happens, we're going to start to see all the things that Senator Shapleigh mentioned. You know, that there is hope for the border here. So I think it's incumbent upon all of us here in the community to make sure that that those issues are put at the forefront of the new administration, and we plan to do that.
I want to make a final statement, and something that I think has been ignored largely in Washington, D.C., and that is an honest, open, and transparent debate about border issues, particularly immigration. Unfortunately, this issue, along with several other issues, have been hot-button reactionary issues that have been inflamed for political reasons. And those types of debates don't lead to good policy. What we need to look at are the core issues of the push-pull factors that are entering into the immigration debate. Why do we have so many people that are coming from Latin America? Why do we have so many people that are coming from America? And why do we have employers here in this country that want to hire them? That is not an issue that has been debated by the federal government. When you take a look at what everyone wants, regardless on what side of the border you're on, you want economic prosperity for your people and for your country. You want to live in a place that is secure and that is not subject to violence, and you want to live in a place where people can be prosperous. That's something that American citizens want. That's something that citizens that live in Latin American countries want. Unfortunately, we haven't had that holistic debate, but I think that it's incumbent upon those who live on the border, who day to day realize what the issues are, who are intimate with the issues, to help frame that debate. And I think that's what this letter does today. This country needs to have a very sober and honest debate about border issues. Unfortunately, up until this point, we have not done that.
You know, a couple of weeks ago, I, with several other elected officials, Susie Berg, City Councilwoman here in El Paso, and Commissioner Veronica Escobar, Sheriff-elect Richard Wiles, and several other community individuals with the Border Network for Human Rights and other organizations went up to Washington to speak to representatives in the Congress, both on the Senate and House side, some of the staffers, DHS, Customs and Border Patrol. Unfortunately, we couldn't get the meeting with the transition team for Obama, but our message to them was there are alternatives to the current focus on trying to achieve border security strictly through just border enforcement. Border enforcement with walls and border enforcement with, you know, all kinds of other approaches that just don't work for us and that people understand will not work and that acknowledge will not work, like the wall. And that you need to start in Washington shifting your thinking from just a border enforcement approach, as was talked about just during the campaign, because nobody wanted to touch the issue of immigration reform, as Steve points out, to now really look sensibly and realistically and practically at what works, what doesn't work. And I would say to the new Secretary-designee, Janet Napolitano, that the answer to our issues here along the border is not to bring more National Guard, not to militarize the border further. Those kind of issues that have been the prevailing wind, if you will, in our border security and immigration policy. That we need to start thinking of how do we build community security in order to achieve border security and national security. It was very interesting because I was on the plane coming back reading the Washington Post, and it indicated in that article the 3 potential nominees for UN ambassador. And I don't think it was Susan Rice who was quoted, it was somebody else, I can't remember her name, that was being speculated about. And she said, you know, the only way we can achieve national security is to build up the trust and the confidence in the international community that we used to have until, you know, we broke that down with our policies that Karl was talking about earlier under the present administration. And it just kind of took me back, because I said, well, that's the whole argument that we were making up there about border security. She's saying it in the international sense. We're saying it here. You will never achieve border security and national security if you don't first build the trust of the local border communities, build security within the border communities so they can cooperate with law enforcement, and build that relationship such that we are in a much more alert status with regard to any potential threat to us from terrorists or anybody else. And so we say we need to change the way we have been approaching security for this nation in a totally different way, and in a way that makes sense for the country as well as respects the voices of border communities like ours.
You know, you're welcome to get an individual interview with everybody, but I'm gonna, while I got everybody here, get them to sign this letter. So if you'll indulge us, if we could start with you, Paul, or we got the Congressman. Thank you all for your time.